All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is June Collier, and thank you for tuning in tonight. Normally on Sunday nights, we do the Sunday night call with June Collier, but I've actually taken some time off for the next couple of weeks, actually until the new year. I was not planning on doing another Sunday night call with June Collier until 2021. And that's until I bumped into this young man, Larry, the champion builder. And we got to talking. He's a dear friend of mine, go way back. And we got to talking, and I thought, hey, why don't we get together? Why don't we do a fireside chat and have an opportunity to kind of interview Larry on some things that he's been doing? And he agreed to do that. And so I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised with the things that he has to share with us tonight. If you've got a skill set, if you've got something in your head that has value, you can actually turn that into money. And Mr. Larry Beacham is going to actually talk about that here tonight. So without further ado, Larry, welcome to the Sunday Night Call with June Collier. How you doing, Larry?
I'm excellent. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, man. I've seen you do this many nights, man. I kind of hiding in the background, man, and just love what you do, man. And what I respect about you so much is how conservative you are and how much you care about your people. I mean, some of the many private conversations we've had in terms of you wanting to make sure that you're always showing up with the people in mind, with their best interests is incredible. It's actually sort of a lost art form in every business niche. A lot of people are all about the dollar, but I think that because you have proven to your audience that you care, it's an incredible honor to be here. I know you don't let anybody in front of your people. So, what can I say, man? It's, like I said, I'm just grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward to giving some value. And my goal tonight, hopefully, is to inspire something new for everyone that's going to be here, especially going out of 2020 and all that has happened and into 2021.
Well, Larry, this is your second time on the Sunday Night Call with June Collier. I don't know if you remember, but it's been a couple of years ago. You actually had a book,
that's right.
And we invited you to the call a couple of years back. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, man? You got a lot of skills, you got a lot of gifts and talents. You are an author, a creator of all sorts. Tell us about the book.
You mean Build a Team Not a Downline?
Absolutely.
Okay, so back when I was hot and heavy, as they say, in network marketing, I would say that even this conversation is relevant of how I got to be a top producer in network marketing back in late 2009, 2010. I done on LinkedIn, and I started to figure out how to get into LinkedIn groups and give value and get people interested in me personally. So I wasn't pitching, I wasn't promoting, I wasn't selling. I decided that I was going to just get in front of a captive audience of people interested in network marketing, home-based business, etc. And in March of 2009, signed up in a marketing system, didn't know anything about the internet, had never really had any success in network marketing, but I was attracted to LinkedIn at the time. Ended up basically figuring out how to use the groups. Started getting leads. Then I started getting a lot more leads and getting more interest. And then on the leaderboard of this marketing system I was in, I wasn't in network marketing yet. I was on this more like an affiliate program. And I started popping up on the leaderboard in multiple categories, number of leads generated, number of new signups, et cetera, and so forth. And so one of the owners of the system reached out to me on Skype and asked, because he said I just kind of came out of nowhere, as they say. And I was a cable guy. I was a cable guy just learning how to use the internet. I didn't know anything about making money online. Matter of fact, my first check was $30 and I cried when I got it because I was like, the internet sent me a check. Like the internet's an entity, right? So getting back to the story though, he asked me what I was doing and I said, I'm on LinkedIn. He said, there's nobody in our system doing LinkedIn at all. He's like, how would you feel about coming on to our Wednesday night training and talking about that? Now, this is the same Wednesday night training that I have been getting on for 6-7 months, just trying to learn myself. And here I am now going to be the focus, And so that was on a Saturday, and I took 2 days because he asked me, did I have anything like written down as like a, something to give to people? And I hadn't. I had kind of perfected the process just in my head, just organically in myself. And I said to him, I need to reformat it, which basically means I need to take it from my head right now. But I said reformat. And so he said, well, can you get it to me by Monday? Which was, we were talking on Saturday morning. I was like, yeah. And at that point, June, I had never written anything more than about a 500 to 700 word article. So now I set myself to where I got to really produce something to give this guy. And I told my wife that I need to go in, in Ohio. I was living in the basement, or we had a basement, I should say. And I kind of lived down there to work. And I spent 2 days in that basement writing what became known as the LinkedIn Lead Generation Blueprint. It took me 2 days. It was about 70 pages long. That Monday, I sent it to him. He was really fired up about what he learned. That Wednesday night, this was September 16th of 2009. I got on the webinar, and I basically shared what I was doing on LinkedIn philosophically. You know what I mean?
Right.
What we talked about in, the print money formula is you tell the what and the why, but the how is something that you actually monetize. But anyway, so they let me sell this book, bro. And they wanted me to sell it for twice as much as I decided to sell. I was scared to death. I had never sold anything online. So I had this 70-page ebook that I wrote about LinkedIn and generating leads for a home-based business. And I want to say between 10 p.m. and midnight that night, about 420, 430 people bought that ebook, $37 a piece, right? So if you do the math, let's just round it down to 400. 37 times 400 is a lot of money. It's so much money it shut my PayPal account down because I had like $1.25 in it the day before. But so it was the first time, without even realizing it, that I was exposed to the power of taking what I know and turning it into cash flow. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just given an opportunity at that time because I had learned something, and that learning of that, what I had learned, produced a result, and they wanted to share that result with their community, and it turned into that. And then that December, I got involved in a network marketing company, and I became the top producer in that company in the state of Ohio about 10 days after getting in the company.
Wow.
But the reason is because of what I said a second ago, is that I had learned how to draw an audience to myself and just deliver value. And I had been doing it for 6 or 7 or 8 months, and I had never sold anything because I didn't know how to sell anything. I wasn't there for that reason. I just wanted to help people. So by the time that December came around, the reciprocity of 8 months of delivering value was so huge that night, I think I might have signed up 10, 12 people. And within 10 days, it exploded. The founder of the company got on camera and actually, at the time, did a promotional. He did what do you call it? A testimonial video for me. One of the owners of the company, because I did it so fast. So then I decided that I wanted to add more value to the network marketing community. So I sat down and wrote the book, Build a Team and Not a Downline. And that was the combined wisdom of me being around a lot of amazing leaders like Cedric Harris, Don Williams, Donna Benita Williams. I can name off Tracy Walker, Nicole Cooper, man, just names on top of names of people that I have been around and witnessed their greatness. And I just decided to compile what I like to call the top principles that these top producers were using to build the top teams in their companies. And that was the birth of it. So it was my experience plus me watching and learning, and I put that book together. And so, yeah, it started. Certain network marketing teams and communities started buying it in bulk to pass out to their teams like a textbook, But once again, it was all based on me having the belief that what I knew and the results I was getting, somebody else could possibly want these results or this information. And so I was willing to take a chance and put it down in these two examples in writing and, sell it, and then, I've been selling that book, I don't know, what, 6, 7 years now?
Yeah. I mean, I actually purchased both the LinkedIn book, and that was before you and I we didn't even really know each other at all. I knew you didn't know me at that time. I got the LinkedIn book, and then of course later on we connected and just started, chatting back and forth. And then the downline book, we actually had you on with our Sunday night call, and I actually at one point had turned your book into I'm going to call it a course, because, I used to do the Sunday night call every Sunday night.
Right.
And every Sunday night, I went through one chapter of your book in the training. And so I actually turned your book into a course, and I got to go back and do that. It's been a while since I've actually done that, but that was just a really, really, really good book. So let's talk about this for a moment, because a lot of people are tuning in. We got Larry Beacham, the champion builder, and we're talking about this concept that Larry has coined as the print money formula. So Larry, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is the print money formula and how does that work?
Let me begin with where it was born out of. And it was born out of some crazy necessity, to be quite honest with you. Having a background in cable, I remember one time I was a certified cable guy in Ohio. And I remember going through all the training and riding along in the truck with a guy. And then eventually they certify you. They have you do some things to certify you that you actually can do the work. And then they give you your truck and they let you go. And I remember, man, the first time I was in a basement in Ohio on one of my first jobs, probably was the first job by myself. I had no trainer in the truck. I just had my Nextel phone. That's how long ago that was. The Nextel chirping phone. And I'm in this basement looking up at the wires and just locked up tight, right? And I called my supervisor and I was like, I need some help. He was like, Larry, let me tell you something. He said, I personally certified you. I know you can do the job. And he said 3 powerful words to me, man, that really at the time for cable, what forced me to do what I needed to do, but it really laid the foundation for the what I'm about to say. He said, figure it out. And then he hung up on me. Right? And so because he refused to send anybody to help me, I didn't really need the help. I really needed to just trust what I already knew and allow myself an opportunity to tap into it. And I had the knowledge. I was just scared. And so when he said figure it out and hung up, because now I got to do this job now. So I figured it out, right? So there were moments in my life that I was without a job and I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get anybody to loan me money. My credit rating was too bad to borrow money. So what am I gonna do? Let my family not eat? And so I had to figure it out, man. And so, bro, I remember pulling out a sheet of paper one time, man, blank piece of paper. And I'm to give you the birth of this thing. This is me surviving. I pulled out a sheet of paper and I wrote at the top of it, I think I needed, I don't know, let's say $100, which at the time was a lot of money. And I wrote down, as it relates to getting $100, I know exactly what to do to get it. And that is, and I wrote that down and then I got quiet. And I forced my brain to only produce what I just said. Like, I know the word exactly. I said, I know exactly what to do to get this. And that is, and I got quiet. And I wouldn't say anything. And I would just keep repeating that and keep repeating that. And then little fragment ideas would come up. And I would write those little fragment ideas down. And then I would keep on going and keep on going. And I just made my brain give me an answer. And one of the things that one time what happened was, I had this box of Perry Ellis sample cologne. I don't think you've ever heard this story. You've heard a few of my stories.
No, I haven't heard this one.
Okay. So this is one example of the printing of money, right? I had a box of Perry Ellis vials. Okay. I had gotten them off of some website for $10 for 100 of them, right? Now, while I'm writing this down, I'm thinking about, as it's like, I could sell this cologne. Now, they're samples, right? But let me tell you where this went. I'm writing it down. Okay, I know exactly how to make this money. And it was like, sell the cologne. And I'm like, I never sold cologne before. But I didn't let the fact that was my current reality block me. Because most people go, I never sold it before. I don't know what to do. But that's not what I did. So now I reworked that sentence. And I said, as it relates to making $100 selling this cologne, I know exactly what I need to do. And that is, and then I got quiet again. Now, this took a few hours. I'm speeding it up, but this took a few hours to figure out because I had to force my brain to give me an answer. Okay? I gave it no choice but to give me an answer.
Right.
So what started happening was I started thinking about how could I sell this cologne? And I knew a guy that owned a men's clothing store up in Columbus, where I'm from. Deacon Bear is his name. He might even still be there. And I had a little table in my basement. And I went to Deacon Baird and I asked him, would it be okay if I set up a table outside of his clothing store to sell what I now relabeled? And by the way, this came out in that writing. I relabeled them miniatures. The word sample says free. Miniature doesn't say free, right? So I had these Perry Ellis miniatures, okay? And I decided that I was going to position myself as the competition to the oils, because where I'm from, people sell oils on the corner. So I'm like, why would you buy the oil, the fake oil, when you get the real thing for the same money, right? So I sat this table up in an outside strip mall. I called myself Mr. Smellgood. And bro, let me tell you something. I sold those. So I got the box of 100. So basically averaged out to be about 9 cents a piece. And I was out there selling them for $2 a piece, right?
Wow.
I sold them for $2 a piece. And I was doing deals, you get more than one, I give you a couple extras, but $2 a piece. I got 9 cents each, $2 sale. The margin is ridiculous. And I remember coming home with about $115, $120.
So Larry, where did you get the samples? How did you get them for 9 cents?
Off of a website that I can't remember the site now, but they were selling. You can buy samples in bulk. So I was like, I like that particular cologne,
right?
And like the vial would last a while. You have to do shake it, dab it, and go on. So it's like if I get 100 of these, it lasts forever. Because at the time I was just buying it for me. I wasn't trying to sell it. Right. I just happened to have it in my possession, and because now I'm asking God to give me an answer. What was in my possession for one reason, now I had a completely different reason. It turned. So I ended up making about $115, $120 selling cologne outside, Deacon Barrett's clothing store,
So you force your brain to come up with an idea that could generate some profit or some income for you.
I gave it no choice, June, and I want to emphasize that. I gave my brain no choice. I told my brain effectively, you need to bring me an answer. So when I wrote it down as it relates to making this $100, because again, no job, no way to borrow money, couldn't hustle it any other way. I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to get this $100. And I just kept saying, I know exactly how to do this. I know exactly how to get this answer. I know exactly how to make this money. I know it. I know how to make it. And I wouldn't give myself a choice to do anything else. And I've done it over and over and over and over. And then I got to the point where I challenged myself with $1,000 and did it one time. I wrote down, as a rate to make $1,000, and I know exactly what I'm gonna do. And then I just wrote 1 through 10 on the paper. And one of the things I teach in the Print Money Formula program is what I call micro coaching. So basically, I said I'm gonna find $1,000 today, and I'm gonna find $1,000 by basically having conversations with people who I believe would reveal to me a problem that they had that I can solve. Okay, simple as that. It's simple, but I think it's a matter of belief, right? It really is that. So I just kept doing it. And so I kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And then I ran into people who were in similar situations with me. And I would say, listen, here's how we're going to come up with this money. You got to set aside all of your desires to have status, all of your feelings of, I don't want what people would think. You got to set all of that aside. And I said, God has a way right now in your possession. And if you let me help you find it, I'm telling you, I can help you make some money. I remember there's a veteran, man, and he actually is in my webinar that we're going to do next week. His name is Andre. He's a veteran. And he and I sat down at a restaurant one time, and I was there to talk to him about business. And I came to find out, he revealed to me at the time he was homeless, a homeless veteran. And not only was he homeless, he was headed to jail because of child support. He was backed up in child support. And we sat in this Leroy Selmer's restaurant for 2 hours. And I just basically said, bro, you have the answer in you. And I said, and we're not going to leave here until we figure out what you have already in your mind, your skills, your experience, your failures, your pain. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. And we came out of that meeting, and he ended up figuring out that he had some skill set with businesses that he hadn't used since he got it. I think he got it on a job. He got it on the job for the job, but never thought about its value after the job. And that was the thing that we dug up. And man, he went out to local businesses and started inviting those businesses to let him do this particular thing. I forget what it is. And man, he said that he had made enough money that by the time he went to court, he had the money. Wow. He was like $1,000 down, bro, but he had the money. But he was headed to jail.
So now, Larry, you talk about this, and you talk about, I think this is, we call it walk around money. I think I've heard you call it walk around money. I'm sure that there are people that are watching and they're asking the question, how do I figure out what my walk around money is? How do I, and Larry says this, I love this term, how do I catalog my knowledge? So what do you mean by cataloging your knowledge?
Okay, so if you look at everybody listening to this broadcast has lived, okay, obviously lived long enough to have had a multitude of things happen. So let me start off with things that people don't even think about. You may have hobbies that you have loved so much that you had a level of skill with your hobby of fishing, a level of skill with your hobby of chess, that on the other side, there's people out there that would love for you to teach them how to do that and pay you for it. So there's hobbies. There is formal training. Like I just said about my guy, Andre, he had formal training on a job that was inside of him that he was no longer using. So he had to bring that up. What's in there? What training do I have? What are the life experiences or the professional experiences that I have that possibly could have value? So it's basically a brain dump of really categorically everything that has any value at all, even the failures, right? Even the failures. Sometimes the failures are the thing that most people need. Sometimes it's the pain. I've had people who have been able to make money helping people based on their pain. I got a guy right now that I'm talking to, man, that was over 500 pounds. Okay, over 500 pounds, and he made a decision that he was going to start losing weight to get healthy and all of this. And so the way my brain is working, I'm like, how many people are like you, morbidly obese, but really need somebody that is from that, I call it the community, from that community to take a stand, to take a lead and say, hey, enough is enough. And I said, imagine if you put together, he called it the decision, right? You have the decision challenge. You have the decision workbook. So now something that he was doing for himself now births into something that could actually make money for him, because as he now knows, there's a lot of people that once he made that choice to step out on faith and to take the action, he's only talking to the people that understand what he understands.
Right.
People just like him. So it's writing those things down and then having someone like me help you figure it out. And so this gets to the second part of the answer to your question. When in the Bible, in the Old Testament, there is a story in the book of Kings, 2 Kings 4, is commonly known as the widow's oil story. And in the 7 verses of scripture, and basically this woman who was a widow was basically about to eat her last meal. Her kids were going to be taken off into slavery over her debt. And she had nothing. Now, nobody listening to me has absolutely nothing, but this lady has nothing. So she thought. So she cries out to the prophet Elijah. And he says to her, he asks her a question. Changes to our life become with better questions, bro. And he asked her an amazing question. He said, what do you have in your house? Now she's destitute, basically. So she's like, you know what? I don't have anything in my house. And I'm going to use my cup here as an example. All I have is this bottle of oil. Okay. Now Elisha looks at that oil and then he says to the lady, hey, I want you to close the door, you and your sons, and I want you to borrow pots from as many of your neighbors as you can. And then I want you to take that oil that you got and I want you to pour it into those pots. And then I want you to take that oil and sell it. And the Bible says that not only was once she did all of that, not only was she able to pay off her debt, she was able to live on the rest. That's 2 Kings 4, verses 1 through 7. So getting back to the point, the print money formula is about showing you your oil. It's no longer about you trying to find money in somebody else's program, business, idea. That's all great. I've made money and all of those things. But you are a business opportunity. You don't have to be in a business opportunity. You are a business. You're a walking business opportunity. You're a walking sense of wealth, but it begins with, what do you already possess? She was poor, Joan, but always had the solution right there. She just didn't have the eye to see it.
Right.
It took somebody like Elisha to show her, A, that it had value. She had to believe him. And then she had to take action on the plan he gave her, because that's what happened. That's really it. So I built the print money formula with the first foundational principle of what is your oil? That's the whole writing a thing down. We got to figure out what's in you, because you may not even be able to see the value. Then once we write it all out, we figure it out, then we start digging into, all right, what can we pour out? What can we pour out into the marketplace? What can we pour out so much that it produces that $100 that you need? Because not everybody wants to make $1 million. You and I just had this conversation the other day.
Right.
A lot of these programs and businesses focus on 6 figures, 7 figures. Look, if you made the average person, if they made an extra $400 to $1,000 a month, it would change their zip code. It would change their car. It would take the pressure off of paying bills on time. They really could save. Most Americans have a negative savings rate. That is where the average person, and there's nothing wrong with that word. When I say average, I mean as compared to people who are not of the same income bracket.
Right.
The vast majority of people, I think the last time I looked it up, average income was like $32,000 a year, right? So almost everybody, it has an average type income. But what are they trying to do to fill in the gaps? Second jobs, third jobs, hustling on the side, this, that, and the other. But there's greater value in being able to ask yourself, what is in me that I can actually take and give to the marketplace in exchange for money? Right. But here's where it's really sweet though, June, and we'll talk about this next week in more detail. Most of us already know what it is, because it's those conversations that we have when people call us, hey, can I pick your brain? How many of y'all listening to this have ever had anybody say, hey, can I come by your house and sit at the kitchen table and pick your brain about freezer meals? Like, that's something that my wife is.
Right.
Can I buy you a cup of coffee so I can pick your brain about stocks? I know you trade stocks.
Right.
And I'm thinking about getting it. So you go drive your car, burn your gas, take your time to this coffee shop, sit down with this person for an hour or whatever, and give them your oil for free.
So stop right there. Stop right there, Larry.
Wait. Look. Pouring out your oil, pouring it into their cup. They're walking away with your oil. Now, listen to what I'm getting ready to say. That's why I want to make this point. They're taking what you just gave away. They're taking your oil. You poured it into their cup, okay? And they're taking your oil and making money with your oil.
Now, before we go too far, there's a couple things I wanted to say. First of all, I love the story of the widow and her oil. And, the prophet also told her to close her doors. And one of the things that I've always, as I read that scripture, and I always kind of thought about it, why did he want her to close her doors? Is because she had that one can of oil and she was supposed to pour it in as many bottles as she could possibly find in her neighborhood, in her city. And her sons went out and got all of these bottles. And when they didn't have any more bottles, they ran out of the last bottle. That's when the oil stopped flowing.
Correct.
But you had to close the door because that probably would seem like nonsense to all of the other people around her, all of the naysayers, all of the people that would tell you, no, that's a silly idea. That won't ever work. Nobody wants that. That's why she had to close the doors. And I know that in my life, there's been times when I wanted to do something that may not sound, it may not sound like a great idea to somebody else, but it's a great idea to me. And sometimes you have to keep those things to yourself as you work it out. And as you work it out, and you'd be surprised at the number of people that would be open to what it is that you have to offer. So my next question to you, you've done the print money formula a couple of times, and I know that you have had several students that went through your print money formula. I want to hear about an idea that has produced income that even you thought, I don't know about that. Now, and before you do that, I'm going to tell you one of the ideas that I saw that one of your students did. And there was a guy, you may know who this is. He wrote a book on how to create desserts without turning on the oven.
Bakeless pie.
And I bought the book because, I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And he had all of these desserts that you put together, put in the refrigerator or whatever, but you didn't have to turn on the stove. You didn't have to cook anything. but it was a dessert. He knew how to make desserts without baking. What's one of the wildest ideas that you've heard that has actually produced income for someone?
So in my webinar, I have a testimonial, a case study of a lady named Londi Jones, who at the time was in her mid 60s. And she was on a webinar like the one we're going to do next week, listening to me explain this thing, how you can take your oil, your wisdom, your experience. And she said she had just taken her grandson, she had just, what do you call it, custody. She had taken custody of her grandson. So she was a fixed income and just took custody of her grandson and was really just in survival mode, you know. So she's sitting on my course, she's sitting on my webinar, listening to me talk about you have value. There's something in you that has value. So she never, now I think I might have told you this one. If she even had said this to me first, I might have doubted it. So just understand how powerful what I'm about to say is. So she sends me this testimonial that she took it on faith that my training could help her after going through the webinar. And bro, she told me that she had this idea about teaching families how to have family tradition. Because she says, I come from a generation where family tradition really mattered, but America is different and most people have no real family traditions. So she decided to start making some phone calls to say, hey, look, I know the holidays are coming up, you know, and I'd like to come in and teach you and your family how to have traditions, you know, memories, things that your kids and your grandkids remember, grandma and grandpa. People were flying this woman all over the country and paying her to come into their home to teach them how to have family tradition.
Wow.
Bro, if she had said that to me, Larry, what do you think about me selling the idea? I would have been really, it would have been difficult. And see, June, that's what you just said a second ago about closing the door.
Right.
I'm the creator of this program. And she was about to, if she had said something to me, it would have caused me to potentially doubt it because I was listening to in my own head. But she had got with God. After I gave her a seed of belief, she said, you know what, I'm going to go this route. And yeah, they were flying her all over the country. And then she hit me up with an update on some other stuff that because she's at that age, she was a retired executive and she started going to do things that she never thought she could do because she said, like she said, and most people suffer from this. I call it this just me-itis. It's just me. My grandmother did this. They're like the Bakeless Pies guy. He's known that stuff since he was a little kid. Right. He never thought that anybody would want to buy that because it's just me. It's just and so it's about breaking down all of that nonsense and being able to focus and say, I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. I'm not going to be like the thing that's in the attic, like there was at the Antique Roadshow I used to love to watch on PBS. Right. You know, people that go up in an attic, the stuff that's been up there forever, they don't know what it is, and they bring it to an expert, and they go, whoa, did you know that was a such and such? It's worth $25 million, but it's been in the attic because nobody knew its value.
Right.
And that's us, man. That's us every single day of our life. If you're struggling right now financially, I get it. I understand it. And the change, though, can be when you start to believe with help that you don't need anything else. You have everything you need right in here. You just need to be able to believe it.
So, Larry, do you think that a lot of people, and I know I've been here, where I have knowledge and understanding of something, to me it's easy, to me it's commonplace, and I don't even think that there's value in that because it comes so easy to me. How does a person, kind of discover that and overcome that? And then how do they know what to charge for something that they naturally just do without any thought and just ease?
Well, so we gotta accept the fact that we all, myself included, have been conditioned out of believing in ourselves and our value. We've been conditioned to believe that somebody else has to set the price for our value. Bro, let me tell you something. I never told this to my wife. I took a job in a call center doing outbound sales for durable medical equipment. All right. Call center work, $12 an hour plus commission. Right. And now I come from the world of knowing how to close over the phone, high ticket. And I told my wife, what's so amazing about this place is that everybody in here has a multiple six-figure income. They just don't know it because the owner knows it, right? The owner knows because of what it's producing for the owner. But because they have been conditioned to believe that it's only worth $12 an hour, they'll sit there all day long, bro, and take 200 to 300 calls a day, outbound calls to people who don't know them, didn't know they were calling, to get hung up on, cussed out, take me off your list, and to hang in there long enough to get 4 to 5 people a day to actually transact just so they can eat, bro. So we got to accept the fact that everybody listening to me has some conditioning that somebody needs to help them with. You cannot break this conditioning on your own. You got to have somebody help you break through that conditioning. Because even listening to me now, even after we said, can I pick your brain? People are like, yep, I've been through that. I just had a call like that today. And you hear that, and then that fear starts to rise up because it's designed to control you. Because the conditioning is designed to control you. So fear is the easiest way to control you. And fear starts to now give birth to doubts. It gives birth to second thoughts. It gives birth to perceptions of yourself. You start to face yourself and the identity that you really have of yourself. And it keeps you from believing that like you just said, eyes come easy to me. Nobody wants to pay me for this. But that's your conditioning. So we got to deal with that. And there's a way to do that. I had to deal with it too. I was a broke cable guy. But if I wanted to actually take my experience as a cable guy, now that I'm on this side, if I wanted to take my experience as a cable guy and find a way to monetize it, I know I could. All right, because there's several different ways to do that.
Right.
So the other part of your question in terms of pricing, that's also a matter of conditioning, because a lot of people have this, what's the term? I think it's the savior's mentality or savior complex, where they feel like they have to give it away, right? They feel like they have to give it away. I think it's Proverbs 11:26. It said and somebody out there knows the Bible, pull this. I think it's Proverbs 11:26, where it says that, how does it go? It's something about the people shall curse you if you withhold the grain.
Oh, yeah.
But the blessing is on the head of the man that sells it. Right? So withholding it is that's the curse. Selling it is the blessing. Withholding it is the curse. Selling it is the blessing.
So it goes, the people curse him who hold back grain, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it.
Right. So the idea of what to sell it for, you got to let go of this belief that you have to give it away, first of all. Mm-hmm. And then now you have to have some help on understanding the first step of, there's several steps, but the most important step of pricing anything is identifying what's the level of sophistication that this problem has, and how high up can you rise to that sophistication. Okay. Let me give you an example to make it simple. Okay. And I heard this somewhere else. If you needed your grass cut, June, okay, your lawn, your needed cut. I mean, how many people could actually cut your grass, right? An unlimited number of kids can cut there's so many different people that could solve that problem. So the value of that problem, because there's so many people that could do it, the sophistication level is incredibly low, then you should expect it to be a low price, right? Washing a car. How many people can wash a car, right? Since I jumped over into cars, almost anybody can wash a car. But when you get into like detailing a car, right? Well, my son just bought a course on detailing cars, and that's what he does. But even a step above that, my son really only deals with high-end cars. He only deals with the expensive cars. Like, he's detailing Teslas and BMWs and Porsches and stuff. Because now, we're going up the sophistication mountain, so to speak, okay? And we get all the way up. So the more narrow the mountain becomes, the less people are up there. That's the sophistication part. So the goal is to figure out, how far can you get from the bottom? How far can you get from being a generalist, just like everybody else? And by the way, that may be where most of you start. That's not a problem, right? If you have a $20 offer that I can help you find, okay, simple math, right?
Right.
We come up with something from your oil, all right? We find some oil and say, hey, this oil can actually be sold for $20. And most people won't have an internal doubt. Some people might, but most won't. $20, the rationale is not a big deal. But here's the power of it. If you sell that thing to someone who actually sees the value and wants it for $20 once a day, okay, for 30 days, that's $600, right? That's over $6,000 of income that was already in you.
Right, right. I believe the great and late Jim Rohn said, if you bring more value to the marketplace, that's when your income will actually increase. And so, when you talk about, being a generalist, you're gonna at that level, your money zone is going to be low. But as you begin to grow and you begin to improve your skill set and you begin to bring more value to the marketplace, then of course your prices will raise from there. And I talked about money zone, but you talk about money zone in the print money formula. Talk a little bit about the money zone, because I saw something where you had posted there's like 3 money zones, and there's probably more, but for just general purposes of the people that you talk to, that you're helping, you talk about the 3 different money zones. Can you talk about that? And can you talk about how, because you kind of delved into it just a little bit there on if you just got generic skills, and that would probably be money zone 1, right?
Right.
Can you talk about the pyramid of how you go from being a generalist to being a guru?
Okay. So the way I try to explain it is, think about any one subject that you know relatively well. If somebody said, look, I'll give you $100 if you could basically explain to me X, okay? X could be X, whatever. I mean, can you teach me the basics of chess, as an example, right? Can you at least show me how to sign up on a stock trading website? I have no idea how to log on or sign up. I don't know. I'm scared to death. Believe it or not, there's people like that. And they'll say, hey, I'll give you $50. So I want you to start there and think about any topic that you could talk about intelligently. And we're going to call that the mountain of value. All right. So in other words, everything that could be known about that subject is on one big, huge mountain. Okay. So let's talk stocks, since that's something that June knows. All right. So we got the Mount stock trading. Okay. The big mountain of stock trading. Let me stay in camera here. Right. So that mountain is massive. Right. And so everything that could be known about stocks can be found on this Mount stock trading. I hope you follow me so far. Now, you have at the base of the mountain, okay, are the people who want to climb up this mountain. In other words, they want to learn stock trading, but they have no clue where to begin, right? At the peak of that mountain would be a multi-million-dollar Wall Street stock trader who the world points to and said, this is the man when it comes to stocks. Now, he's at the top of the mountain, okay? Right? That's the guru. It's the best-selling author. It's the one that has a TV show that's international. That's the guy at the top, right? You follow me so far?
Right.
So there's base where nobody knows nothing, and then there's the guy at the top, right? And everything in between. Now, June Collier, okay, let's use June. June Collier has climbed up to a certain elevation on the mountain of value when it comes to stock trading. June is not a multi-million-dollar international best-selling, none of that stuff.
Not yet.
Right. As of this video, that is correct. And he is certainly not at the base camp where he knows absolutely nothing. But June has climbed up that mountain to a certain elevation, okay? I think everybody can get where I'm coming from. So here's the point. Wherever June has climbed up on that mountain and below, down to base camp, is what I call the money zone. June is not trying to position himself as the guru, because he's not, right? He may not have made multiple millions, but he's done well, okay? He may not understand some of the intricacies of this, whatever, but what he can do, based upon his knowledge, his experience, his success and failures, okay, he can get you at least to where he is. That's where he's credible. That's where he's been experienced. And that's his money zone. And everybody listening to me has a money zone. Even if your money zone is only worth $20 right now, it doesn't matter. If you have enough people who are willing to say, it's no longer acceptable for me to be at base camp when it comes to my marriage. I've been married for 5 years. And the 4 out of these 5 years have been hell. But I love my wife, or I love my husband, and I don't know how to succeed as a spouse. So they keep tumbling down the mountain. They can't get a foothold. But then you got people out here who have had marriages that were on the brink of divorce. They figured it out, Their marriage is healthy, thriving, and moving forward. So they're at a certain elevation on their mountain. Well, guess what? Every couple that desires to get to at least the place where they can resolve conflict,
Right.
if we just pick that, if you have had the ability to figure that out for your marriage, I can't tell you how many marriages you can keep out of divorce court. And I also can't tell you how many couples will be willing to pay you for access to that solution.
So it's just that simple. I mean, and that's key, because a lot of people, maybe they do have a great marriage and it's just they don't think about it, or
Right.
they've put kids through college and they don't think about it, but those are skill sets. There's lessons that they have learned that can be shared to someone else coming behind, who says, maybe I don't want to have to go through the bumps and bruises. Maybe I can just listen to someone who's already experienced the bumps and the bruises, and I can learn from them so that I can get to where they are faster than what they got there, with less headache, less turmoil, and those types of things. Is it as simple as that? Is it just that simple?
Yep, because it boils down to three things. All right. Whenever somebody decides, when any of us really decide to buy something, okay, it's one of three main reasons. I hope I can remember all three of them, because my brain is racing to say so much in a little bit of time we have. The first reason why somebody would want to buy anything you have is because they can't do it on their own. They tried. I've been trying to figure out how to fry chicken. I keep burning it. And I know that's just a crazy, but literally, that's the first thing. It's like, I can't figure this out on my own, right? The second reason is I don't know how to do it fast enough, right? I've been trying to figure out this stocks for years, and I need somebody to help me speed this up.
Right.
Well, the third reason would be I need a proven system that I can just plug into, or somebody who I trust that has actually done what I'm trying to do. Those are the three things. And everybody listening to me is credible in one of those three things. You are credible in that way. And so going back to, in 20, I'm saying $20 because it's such a low barrier. But if you could take one thing and be able to package it is just a loose term for being able to find a way to deliver that to someone else who's looking for it, then you have money. Let me also add this, June, because it's an important point. The limiting belief that we have to have a pedigree, a designation, a certification, and all of that kind of stuff, man, unless you're curing cancer or practicing law, that doesn't apply, okay? You have within you enough value that somebody would get it from June Collier because it's June Collier, not because he's XYZ guru. They'd rather get it from you. They believe in you. They trust you. You're like them, whoever that is. They like the fact that you're the same gender. They like the fact that you have the same economical background or whatever. There's something about you, ladies and gentlemen, that people would rather get it from you. And I know that's true because if you go to the bookstore and you look at any category, let's talk about personal finance. Suze Orman is a best-selling author, is she not? Dave Ramsey is a best-selling author. Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author. All three of these people are in the same niche talking about, if you ask them about budgeting, they're all going to say the same thing, because the universal principles of budgeting don't change because three different people are talking about it. Right. What's different is that Robert Kiyosaki's way of explaining it resonates with a certain group of people. Suze Orman's way of explaining it, based on her experience or whatever, resonates with a certain group of people. Does that make sense? So the way that we all communicate certain things is what resonates and connects. And that's why somebody will give you their $20 as opposed to giving it to me or June, even though me and June both know it. Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot to do with why we all need an opportunity, or we need help with getting okay with, I no longer have to feel like I have all of this wisdom and knowledge and I can't do anything with it. Or I know I can do something with it, but I'm just afraid.
Right.
And let me tell you something, and then I'll give it back to you. One of the things I tell all my students is that they all need a reality check. And what a reality check is, it's not like you need a reality check. A real paycheck that makes it real. Because the very first time that you get somebody to give you money, it's gonna freak you out. Like, it's gonna have some kind, you might have an out of body experience. Like, You're not gonna. It's gonna be really a strange phenomenon, and the phenomenon is something's gonna break, something's gonna change, because then you'll be able to see what I'm saying is true, because it's always been there. It just takes one person to say, you know what, you want me to send that to you on Zelle or Cash App, right? As soon as you hear that, it's over with, man. Your life is, oh my God, bro.
So that rolls into that belief zone. And I want to give my testimony about the first time that I had that belief zone. And this is prior to the print money formula. I mean, this was something that I did years ago, not really understanding what I was doing, but I just kind of did it. I spent roughly over 20 years as a corporate recruiter. And one of the things that I learned as the internet was coming. The internet hasn't always been here. Today's my birthday, by the way. I'm 50 years old. So the internet hadn't always been here, but I was a part of corporate recruiting when the internet started evolving, and it became the place that people would go to look for individuals to, work for certain jobs. I was a corporate recruiter. And so I reverse engineered the things that we were looking for and how we were finding people on the internet. Because just going to the job boards wasn't enough. There was so much competition. I worked for a lot of these high-tech companies like Microsoft and Google, and there was so much competition that you just couldn't post a job and think that you were going to get people. You actually had to go out and search for people and find people. And so I reverse engineered that, and I wrote a book on how to be found by recruiters. And I knew how to find people, but I knew that there was a lot of people out there that didn't know how to be found. And so I reverse engineered, and I wrote a book called You Don't Know Squat About Job Hunting. And I reverse engineered that process, and I showed them all the things that corporate recruiters do to go out and find people. And these are the things that you need to do to go be found. And I sold the book on ClickBank. And long story short, sales started coming in. And that was the first time that I ever made money on something that I created out of thin air. And that feeling, that first email that came that said, bing, you just made a sale. And I think I was selling the book for like $19.95 at the time. And that first sale was ecstasy. It was the best feeling in the world that I would never ever forget. And since that time, I've done some other things. And one of the things, Larry, that I have actually done in getting to know you and learning about the print money formula is I started writing down everything that I was good at. Like everything. When I say everything, leave no stone unturned. Absolutely. If you're good at playing spades, put that down, right? Right down, I'm good at playing spades. I'm always spanking somebody at the spades table, because you never know, out of all of the things that you're good at, there's something there that other people want, and they'll be willing to actually pay for it. And so I'll say this, because I know we're wrapping up. The last project that I did was a project where I taught people basic fundamentals of stock investing. And it was a challenge because a young lady had asked me, she says, you talk about stocks all the time. You're sharing this stuff. You're sharing your results. When are you going to teach a class? Because I want a class. And she had been asking and asking and asking. And I just got tired of people asking me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. But you're going to have to pay for it. And if I don't get at least 10 people to sign up, I'm sending everybody's money back, because it's not going to be worth my time. And so because I didn't have anything, I just said, I'll teach a class. I'll do a 6-week class for $250. 24 hours later, I had like 45 people that had signed up. 48 hours later, I had 76 people that sent me $250. Now that class, I've increased the price. So the last time I ran the class, it was $350. and I've taught over 100 people at this point. And I started the class back in August, I believe. But in a four-month period, I've netted about almost $30,000 on something that was up here. It was up here. And when I made the offer, I didn't even have anything. I didn't have the class developed. I didn't have anything because I did not think that people would pay me $250 for that class. And 76 people later, I was like, wow, I got to go to work. And I feel like I was just like you, Larry. I had to go in the basement and I had to lock everything down and just start creating out of everything that I knew to do that. And that's pretty amazing to me. It's pretty amazing to me that I've done that. And I've got several stories. I've got a credit repair course that I created. And that course is offered inside of a network marketing company called My Econ. And, thousands of people have taken that course. Well, that came from me. My wife and I got married. And when we got married, we lost our jobs right after the wedding. And I didn't think it was going to be a big deal because I had money set aside. I had an emergency fund, and I never had a problem finding a job. So the first month, I didn't even look for a job. And when I started looking for a job, I started having problems for the first time in my life. My credit took a hit. Long story short, I stuck my head in the dirt for about a year, licking my wounds, feeling like the world is just crumbling all around me. And then the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, get up off your knees and go do something about it. And I started researching, and I fixed and repaired my own credit. And little would I know that negative thing that happened in my life became to be something that has now helped thousands of people across this country, because I poured into this course that I created all the things that I learned from the troubles that I had. So I'm telling you guys, it works. Larry has been a coach of mine. I can't wait, Larry. We're scheduled to have you next week doing a class on the print money formula. So Larry, I'm gonna let you kind of talk a little bit about that, and then I'm gonna let people know how they can get registered for that class.
So it's really about as simple as this. When you listen to June and I discuss about the potential for what God has already given you inside of your experiences, inside of your training, inside of your failures, inside of your hobbies or whatever, if it's at least possible to draw out of you one thing that can manifest into an income on top of everything else you got going on. And I stress this isn't about anything more than you being able to I like to call it, fill the holes in your money Swiss cheese, right? If you get an image of a slice of Swiss cheese, it has holes in it, right? So your money, the gaps, the different things that you're experiencing financially, if I could do nothing else but get you to believe that you have at least one thing in you that the world would want, whether it's $20, $200, $2,000, everybody here listening to me has all of that in them and more, but we got to have a starting place. Next week is all about really putting you on the path to understanding how to find that thing. And then hopefully you'll take action on that thing. And as a matter of fact, what I also believe this week will happen, if it hasn't already been happening, is that suddenly you'll notice and recognize how others see you and why they call you as opposed to Google, because they want you to be Google. They want you to be their personal Google. They're talking to you because they know you're going to give it to them for free, even though they'll pay somebody else for that same exact information. I'm just keeping it real. So I'm asking you to consider that if that's true for me and true for June, that what we're talking about is just regular guys and girls that I have worked with have made this decision. It's no longer acceptable to either hold it in, give it away for free, or be underpaid for it. Okay, it's no longer acceptable. It's time for me to get the most out of what God has given me as value. And this resonates with those people who I like to call the free experts. We're all the free experts. Yeah, can you give me some advice on such and such? Times 10 people that month. That's a smoke signal of your value, that there's something there, right? And everybody has that. But even if it's not happening exactly what I'm saying, you have something on the inside of you that you want out. Maybe it's your legacy. I have a guy, man, June, and I forgot to mention this. This guy, he lives in New York, and he decided to work with me because he said he wanted to leave a legacy for his family. Now, he owns a gutter business. Like, he puts gutters on your house. That's his business. And he listened to me explain this, and he said, Larry, I can't tell you how many contractors in my town call me, show up on sites, want me to let them ride with me so they can see what I'm doing, because he's the top guy in his niche in gutters. He's like, man, I'm tired of people and he's that kind of guy, like most of us. He don't like it, but it makes him feel bad not to help people. And I said, well, it's not an equitable exchange of value at the level it needs to be. Somebody needs to give you some money for that. And as I say in the print money formula, when you talk about price, you pay the price for the knowledge that you have. When people go to pick your brain, you pay the price, didn't you? You pay the price in real dollars. You pay the price in experience. You pay the price in failure. You pay the price. If you had to pay a price for that knowledge, why shouldn't they have to pay a price? Why shouldn't they have to pay a price? And as my favorite quote, it's okay to ask them to pay. And if they don't want to pay, it's okay to let them walk away. You're going to hear me say that next week. Okay? So one final story, Steve, I want to share, and then we can, I said Steve, June, about Steve. My buddy Steve Hopper. Now, Steve is not a student of mine, he's just a good friend. But it's an example of the print money formula in a unique way from the standpoint of his prison experience. Steve got into a fight in high school, and this is his story, he tells it everywhere, but this is why I'm bringing it up. He got into a fight in high school on the beach, almost killed a kid, first-time offender, but he ended up going to jail on a 10-year sentence. He spent 8 of 10 years in prison. He saw people get murdered in front of him. He said it was nice. He was fighting to save his own life. Now, he's a kid when he went to prison. Spent 8 years, okay? So we're talking about an 18, 19-year-old kid, 8 years in prison. And he said that the number one skill that he learned how to survive in prison was understanding personality types. Now, he didn't study personality types. He just, because of survival, learned to figure out how to understand the personality of the guys around him. What was a survival skill. He ended up coming out of prison. And now, Steve, he wrote a book called From Prison to Purpose. That's the name of his book. And he has made multiple 6-figure income traveling the country, telling his story of going to prison and surviving on learning personalities. So he took a failure and he makes a full-time living off of it. Wow. Wrote a book about his experience from prison to purpose. What was his purpose? Well, you got to go read his book, okay? But my point is, Steve was printing money from a prison term. That's his whole. He said that he used to be scared to tell people that he went to prison. He said, but the moment I started telling my story, that's when corporations were booking me to come in and tell my story. They were paying him tens of thousands of dollars to talk about, shank fights in the shower. Like, real talk. But somebody listening to this tonight may even have that type of background. You had a failure, you had a setback, and you've been looking at that thing as the big wart on your face that you're trying to cover up. But it really could be the very thing that you need to leverage to access your wealthy place. And wealth is relative. I'm not talking about millions. But if wealth to you is being able to say, this month, I'm not going to pay any bills because I done paid them ahead for 6 months because this thing I created produced that. Christmas come around, I'm going to help 3 families have a great Christmas. 3 families that have no way of having a good Christmas, I'm going to make it possible. That kind of stuff. Bro, I'm feeling another overdrive kicking in. I'm going to stop, but I want to tell you this one story from my own experience that I used to tell you to tear me up, but I've sold it so many times I think I can get through it now. My wife and I have a relationship with a young lady who my wife has been mentoring since she was 17. She was a troubled youth. My wife kind of started mentoring her, turned her life around, got cool with her mother. And one day her mother was on the phone with my wife in the wintertime in Ohio and mentioned just casually that her gas was off. Now, this is the wintertime. She didn't have any heat in the house, right? She just mentioned that she wasn't asking for help. She's like, I'm just trying to figure it out. And my wife is telling me that Miss Sharon's heat's off, right? And I'm like, my wife's like, I want to go buy her a big space heater. Because in the apartment she had in, a space heater could take care of what she needed. She had a really small apartment. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, well, Just go get her a space heater, right? So my wife couldn't deliver it, so I delivered it. So I went and just drove over to Miss Sharon's house, knocked on her front door. She's like, "Well, Larry, what you doing here?" I said, "I got something for you." I went to my trunk and I grabbed that space heater and I sat it at her feet, bro. And she literally buckled in tears in the doorway. Literally, a $200 or $300 space heater that was born out of the income that I was making from the stuff we're talking about made a difference in somebody's life, right? It made a difference in my life first. I had to believe that I could do that, and then it became possible for me to make a difference in somebody else's life. All right. So, man, these are the stories that I hope that will be born out of what we're talking about. These are the stories that I hope that next week a few people will say, I want to uncover what my oil is. I want to uncover what is my print money formula. What is the thing that I know that can be converted into instant or recurring cash flow? That's all I do now. I don't do anything else. I shut everything else I've done down because to me, this is the most fulfilling thing I can do is help you find that legacy. So, June, man, it's been over an hour. I know we had planned an hour. Listen, I'm excited about this. I hope that we've been able to at least inspire some people to show up next week. And I know you're going to tell them how, but believe me, it's worth it. And some people watching this may already know me for what I've done in the past. Or maybe you're a student of mine. I don't know. Share that too, on, I think this is on, you can comment on StreamYard on Facebook, right? I'm not that.
Absolutely. We got some comments out there. And if you got some time, Larry, if there's people with some questions or whatever, we'll definitely take that.
Yeah.
While people are typing, again, if you're on Facebook and you're typing in your comments, I can definitely see your comments. Thank you to everybody that's giving me a happy birthday wish. I do appreciate that.
Happy birthday, young man.
Right. ARRP is already sending me letters already. But here's what I want to say. I had promised that I was done for the month of December and having Sunday night calls. We were going to take a whole month off and wait until the new year. But we're going to change that up because Larry came along and we talked and I said, okay, we got to do a Sunday night call. So as you guys know, we do these Sunday night calls and you can log into our Sunday night call and get some great information. So here's what I want you to do, because I don't know if we kind of told you what next Sunday's call is going to be all about, but it's going to be about the print money formula. It's going to be about the 5 different steps that Larry came up with in order to take what's inside of you and actually build something out of that you can actually generate some income. And each and every one of us has that something inside of us. In fact, we've got a lot of those somethings inside of us. It's not just one thing. There are many experiences that we have, and we just got to know how to tap into ourselves, pull that out, and then know how to package it, and then go out and deliver it to the marketplace. So there's definitely some steps there. Figuring out what it is one step, but then how do you package that? How do you get it out to the marketplace? Larry Beacham has put all of that together, and I have been amazed. This has been a project that he's had for several years. Many of you may who know Larry know about the print money formula. Those of you that don't, we're going to have a webinar next Sunday night call with June Collier. We're going to have Mr. Larry Beacham. He's going to have a PowerPoint presentation, the whole 9 yards, so that you can start discovering what your gift is and discovering how you can turn that gift into some cash, how you can monetize that gift. So that's what's coming up next Sunday. Now, in order for you to have access to that, you're going to need to register. And while Larry was talking, I was quickly trying to put together a registration page through Zoom. And so I'll go back and make it a lot prettier. It's not pretty right now, but it's effective. But you can register at sundaynightcall.com. sundaynightcall.com. If you go there, you'll register, and that will give you Larry's or give you access to next Sunday when we talk about the print money formula. I promise you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it, because you'll be able to find opportunities inside of you that can generate you hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. I know that Larry has done it. He's created 6-figure incomes many, many years in a row based off of the skill sets that he has and the ability to tap into this print money formula. And when you think you don't have it, you think there's something that nobody wants to pay for. I'm telling you, a guy that knows how to make desserts without turning on the oven, he was able to use that and create the print money formula. I'm telling you, there's so many things that are just so wild that I've seen from Larry's training and the things that people have gotten. Mr. Beacham, what last words do you have for the people?
If you have, first of all, if there's any questions, I will hang if people want to ask me questions. I don't know if I got any last words per se. I just think that this will resonate with the right person at the right time. There's a reason. It's funny. I heard this recording, and I'm like, that's so crazy, but it's true. I heard this recording saying, this is coming into your life right now for a reason, while I'm hanging up on them. But because we're all real people, and this is a community and a connection with you. This is coming into your life for a reason. 2020, man. There's a lot of people. By the way, I had coronavirus. Matter of fact, I had it. My wife has it right now. My wife has COVID, and my daughter my whole household has had COVID. Okay, by the grace of God, I didn't have any alarming symptoms, and neither has my wife or all my kids. But it's been a challenging year, trying to duck COVID, right? Obviously, and then of course dealing with what COVID has done to our economy. And if there's any reason why now you shouldn't take what I said tonight seriously, this year should be that proof. Because there was people who lost their homes, lost their cars, lost their jobs, because the dependency on where the money was coming from was always under the control of somebody else. They never really had total control of it. Okay. And so this is the time, even if this is just reality. I've been in network marketing companies that one year were thriving and the next year shut down for any number of reasons. Okay. I've seen people that have multi-million-dollar checks or multiple six-figure checks or 10, whatever. They woke up and it wasn't there anymore because they didn't have control. And by the way, that is somebody else's print money formula. When you run your credit card for anything other than something that comes off the ground or off a tree, like fruit and vegetables, when you're buying anything, that was somebody else's wisdom. That business opportunity, you ran your car for $200, $300, that was somebody else's print money formula. When you buy audios and podcasts and CDs and information, and you get, so while you're running your credit card for their stuff, somebody needs to be running their credit card for your stuff. That's the kind of word.
Larry, that's powerful because we just went through Thanksgiving, and I don't know about anybody else, but Black Friday emails, my whole email box was full of people trying to sell something with a Black Friday sale.
Right.
And for a quick second, I was ticked off because I was like, man, I'm tired of all these Black Friday sales. And then a small voice said, why aren't you selling? So next year, I'm going to have my emails going out next year on Black Friday as well. I got a question that came in from John, and he says, I have a question for you, Larry. How do I recruit people into my business? And so is there a strategy that you would give him, Larry, where, a lot of times when we're in network marketing, we're all selling basically the same thing. But I have seen some networkers who were able to add something of value that made them more attractive than others. So can you speak to that and maybe how someone that is doing network marketing, how they can still utilize the print money formula to give more value than what everybody else is giving?
Well, there's a business behind the business in this sense. When I was building my network marketing team, I never thought about recruiting. I always thought about how could I add value in a unique way? So one of the ways that I used to do that, and this is why I was the top guy in that one network marketing company, is that I hosted a Sunday night webinar just like you did, June. It was a generic training. I targeted the network marketing community because I wanted to offer value, because here's what I know to be true. Okay, and I have this in my book, Build a Team Out of Downline. There's 4 or 5 different categories of people that I decided that I was only going to target. Number one was an existing network marketer. Now, when I say target, I mean build a relationship with, because if they're in a network marketing company, I've been around long enough to know that a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, something could happen. And I like to think of them like they could be a displaced worker. If you could just, when a network marketing company shuts down, if there's top producers in that company, that top producer is going to be a top producer somewhere else because they have the skill set. So I decided to start building relationships with existing network marketers. And the way I did that is I asked myself, what do network marketers need to be successful? Like the question I was just asked. So existing network marketers were people I decided to offer value to, trainings, coachings. I would do interviews. I would do all kinds of stuff. Okay, that's existing network marketer. The second one was a pre-existing network marketer. In other words, somebody that was in a company at one time, got out, but wants to return. How many people have done that? People have been in multiple companies before, all kind of reasons for that, right? The third type of person is somebody who has never been in a network marketing company at all, but they have decided they want to start a home-based business, and specifically network marketing. Now, quite frankly, a lot of people don't realize this, but this day and age, people research network marketing companies before they get in them. 10, 15 years ago, you got into it because you sat in your mom's living room. That's not people. This is a profession. So people research this stuff now. So I wanted to position myself for the people that were trying to find a leader to follow, right? The fourth type of person, which is the most magical, is the type of person that wants to get in your company by name. Believe it or not, if you're in a major network marketing company, people are searching your company while we're talking right now. They're trying to find a way to get in with somebody. They're not going to get in with the Joe Blow, whoever they introduce them. They may not have respect for them or whatever, may not trust them. That's how I ended up in the company that I became a top producer, is because my business partner found a guy on YouTube who was the number one income earner in that company. And he wasn't even talking about the company. He was talking about the value that the product that they had to offer. He never mentioned the company by name at all, because you can't really do that in network marketing. You can't use the company name like that. So he saw this guy and called him and figured out what the company was and signed up with him. But we were looking for somebody to work with from that company. Okay. So you got a number one income earner in the whole company, recruits the number two income earner company. He eventually became that, and brought along with him the number one income earner in the state that he was living in, myself. All because that person was positioned as somebody who was an authority in that company. And then the final person that I looked for was people looking for a solution to the problem that my product or service could offer. Those are the five people I went after. So when I say unique, I would do webinars, and I would say, hey, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, I'm going to have June Collier on. Let's assume I'm in my econ, right? I'm going to have June Collier come on, and June Collier has a background in XYZ. And I would do a training. Now, I would target people who had an interest in that. And I would have people come to webinars with 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people show up. And then we did this thing, and I like to call a segue. Okay, so this is just one way to recruit, since that's the question. Front end of the call, I'm talking, in this example, I'm talking about let's say stocks, right? June, come on and say, here are the 5 do's and don'ts of picking a stock, right? Here are the 4 ways to decide on what stock, what kind of account you want to set up. You might do a stock trade analysis. Like, we'll go to the stock trade and analyze the pros and cons of stock trade. So we do 30-minute training, generic, right? People are excited because they're there because they want to learn stocks and all of that. I do a Q&A just like we're doing right now, right? Then I would say, listen, that concludes our training tonight, but I got some extra value for anyone that wants to hang around. And I want to dig into the knowledge that you learned tonight, where you can have access to that very same knowledge and more. And there'll be an additional way that you could possibly make money. You don't have to stay for that. You can go with all you. Have a good night. And then I would segue now into the opportunity. I'd say the reason why I was able to bring a guy like June to the table and get this wisdom is because we're connected to some information that's just the little bit we gave tonight. You can have full access to that, blah, blah, blah. And then there's also this opportunity. So I was recruiting people 5 and 10 at a time like that. At the low end, 3 or 4 people right off of a webinar, because I wasn't pitching and promoting and selling. I was all about how can I deliver unique value, because almost everybody in the network marketing does it the same way. Pitching, pushing, spamming inboxes. You know anybody make extra money, you look like a sharp person, blah, blah, blah. They're doing all that regular stuff. If you just decide to relax and say, how can I, whether I'm in jewelry, I was coaching these women in this jewelry business. I flew to 7 states to speak at their events. And I was like, you got a business behind the business. The business is not really jewelry, it's image and fashion. I said, imagine if you started doing classes to teach women how to dress. A lot of women can know how to dress. They don't know how to put colors together. They don't understand their neck length, their body type. They don't understand bras. I mean, all this stuff that you could bring women to the table about that matters to them and deliver value and get them to trust you as an authority in fashion and image. And oh, by the way, this jewelry stuff becomes a whole lot easier to talk about. So this is how I did it. And if I were still in network marketing, this is how, and I talk about this in the book a little bit, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. But stop talking about recruiting. Recruiting becomes about you. Don't recruit. Okay. And I know that sounds crazy, but stop worrying about recruiting. Figure out how you can deliver value to enough people who want a solution to a problem, answers to a question, or relief to pain, and give yourself an opportunity to let them in. I don't need to recruit anybody. Okay. Just like when June asked me this, and by the way, I'm going to say this now, I'm going to say it next week. Most of the time when you show up to a webinar, there's an offer. I don't have an offer. I'm not going to ask anybody for any money. And you're like, huh? The reason I'm not doing that is because I don't have to. The people that resonate with this message are going to want to talk to me. The people that resonate with the way you deliver value are going to inbox you, call you, text you, reach out. They're going to find you. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do an offer. I'm just saying whether you do or don't, the value alone is a magnetic force that people just can't help themselves. They want to have more. But if you stop thinking about recruiting and you start thinking about how can I become a person of value, the kind of person that I had a girl tell me she used to run to the bathroom at work whenever she saw me go live because she didn't want to get caught catching me. I'm like, you can catch the replay. What do you do? Why would you jeopardize your job? She's like, I know, but I just like to catch it live. And the only reason why she felt that way is because she was so connected to the value. Who would do that, right? So that's a big answer, big long answer, but I hope that it planted a seed. By the way, friendly question, anybody, and if we don't get to it, you can ask me offline. So hopefully that helped. Junior, was that any value, man? Did that help at all?
Man, that was great. I'm gonna have to bring you back several times because you got a wealth of knowledge in a lot of different areas. But just like what's happening right now, I don't think that people really understand. They see it, but they don't see it. Here's what I mean by that. What Larry just explained, you're experiencing right now.
Right.
We're here doing a fireside chat. I bring in an expert to talk about how to take the gifts that you have and how to utilize those gifts. I ask him a few questions, and then we talk about next week, we're going to have a full webinar. Go register. Well, when you register, I know that you're interested in taking some of your gifts and turning those gifts into some type of monetary value. The other thing that you guys should notice is that I'm delivering value week after week after week after week, and I'm not asking for any money. I'm delivering this value because what you have come to expect is that June is an expert. June is a guru. What June doesn't know, he knows somebody that knows it, right? If June is not good at let's just say business credit, he knows somebody that knows business credit. And so what ends up happening is on that elevation that Larry talked about from the ground floor all the way to the top of guru, what's happening is that I keep climbing because I bring on experts. I keep providing value. I keep providing all of those things. And when people are ready to change their life, they're going to connect with the person who's always out there giving extreme value. Why would you want to hang out with the chickens when you can go hang out with an eagle? And so so what's happening right now is what Larry's talking about. Many of you get on these calls, you get on these webinars, and you don't realize that you're inside of the system. You're inside of the funnel. We give away something free. We say, hey, if you want something else, you want to learn something else, go register. And I don't think Larry is ashamed of saying that, and I'm not ashamed of saying that, because next Sunday, Larry's going to deliver some value. Whether you're there or not, he's going to deliver value, and he's going to leave it all on the table. So guess what? You're going to show up. And when you show up, you might be surprised and you might say, hey, June, what kind of business are you in? I'm interested in doing business with you. Or you may reach out to Larry and say, hey, Larry, I got this thing that I've been thinking about, this idea. I need a coach to help me kind of figure this thing out because you've done this with several people, and I got this idea that I want to birth. That's what this thing is all about. So it's right there in front of you. What you have to do is you have to decide that you're going to get out of your way. You're going to go ahead and get you a StreamYard account that's free, right? This account right here, what Larry and I are doing, you can get it absolutely free and do this and interview people and do trainings. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse at all. So thank you, Larry, for that. Let me see if I got any other questions on top of that, because that was good, Larry. We're gonna have to bring you back and do some other training outside of that. Let's see here.
While you're looking for that next question, let me add to the whole StreamYard thing you said from a recruiting standpoint. If I were you, Mr. and Mrs. Network Marketer, when it comes to StreamYard, and you hear me on when I talk about value, what I would do is figure out how you could put together a very brief educational training about some way to solve a problem for someone. Let's say credit repair, like June was talking about credit repair. I don't care if it's health and wellness, credit. Put together a brief training that's free and educational, and then just start. And I did this. Just say, hey, Fred, listen, I would like to know, would you be willing to co-host a free class I'd like to do on X? All I need you to do is just go to this site with me and we'll go live. I'll do all the talking. Now you go look at any of your friends. Any one of you looking at to have friends, look at how many friends your friends have. If you got a friend that's got 500 people, even if they've never gone live before, the fact that they're going to go live with you there is going to create curiosity. But before that, you just say, hey, I got a friend of mine. He's an expert in lowering blood sugar without medications and all of that. We're gonna do a little 30-minute chat. Show up if you want. You'd be amazed at how many people out of those 500 that'll show up. 10, 15 will show up. Then you line up another person with StreamYard. You can literally have 30 back-to-back days of StreamYard broadcasts of you just simply delivering value and inviting people to reach out to you if they want to learn more. Everybody on this call in 30, 60, 90 days would rank events so fast to their network marketing company, it'll make their head spin. It's not going to start off fast, but the momentum that'll come from that, if you stick with it, will be absolutely amazing. If you get what I just said. This tool right here, I just gave you a print money idea for your network marketing. This StreamYard tool, just by you having the courage to say, I need your help to gain access to people you're connected to, because there's some people in your audience who are going to lose their house because, or their health is bad because, or they're struggling with this, and I know that I have some information that could help at least one of them. If that's your mindset, believe me, you would crush it. You just got to decide to do it. So any other questions out there, John?
Yeah, I got Mr. And you know this gentleman, man. He goes back a long ways, Mr. Greg Napier out of Columbus, Ohio.
Pastor Napier, what's up, Greg?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So he has a question. He wants to do a free training class on marriage, but I don't see anything else that he's stating there. So I don't know what his question is, but he states that he wants to do a free training class on marriage. So maybe you can help him out with that and what he should maybe set up or do.
I'm working with a couple right now that are launching a marriage product. They actually have been doing marriage mentorship at least 12 or 13 years because they started in their home when I lived in Ohio. My wife and I were like the founding couples, one of the founding couples. And so they just from a print, their print money formula is helping marriages stay connected. Their organization is called the Stay Married Movement. Okay, Chris and Vanessa Davis. And so I was just talking to him about this very thing, that the way that they were able to heal their marriage through understanding how to resolve conflict in a godly way systematically, right? They created an actual system that they sit down and go through for any conflict. And within 20 to 30 minutes, 90 to 95% of the conflicts that most couples face can not only be resolved, but they can get back to love. In other words, there's no sweeping it under the rug. They created a method. I've used it with my wife. We've taught it to couples. Those couples have taught it to couples, have taught it to couples. So it really begins with this. If you want to teach anything, just decide, what do you know about the subject that has worked for you, and share that. Share that. Start there. Say, hey, tonight at 9 o'clock, my wife and I, or me, I'm going to jump on and I'm going to talk about the 3 things that my wife and I have learned to do, so that when we are in conflict, how we can resolve it, agree on what to do to never have it happen again, and to reconcile so that we're not in emotional conflict after the fact. If you would like to know the 3 steps that we do, I'm going to be on live. I'll see you then. Trust me, there's going to be at least one person there. Okay. And that's the thing. Trust the fact that even if it's only one person, don't get discouraged about that. Do not despise a small beginning. There are no dollars in the world that aren't made up of pennies. You got to have some kind of place to start. So trust the fact that if anybody shows up, more people will show up as you stay consistent. Because if it's about you, you'll be focused on how many people show up. But if it's about them, that'll take care of itself. That'll take care of itself. Trust me. If you can help me, I'm not going to care about nobody else. I'm going to care about me. And then I'm going to turn around and say, hey, y'all need to come back next week because this dude's going to be talking about marriage. And then I'm going to help you. Your audience, am going to take care of all the promotion you could ever want and need. Don't spend no more money on ads. Just deliver some value. Genuinely solve a problem. It'll take care of itself. Just give it time.
Great. Well, listen, we are at 9:30, so we're going to close out the call. This is a great topic. We see a lot of people that are interested. Make sure you register at sundaynightcall.com. Mr. Larry Beacham will be teaching the print money formula on next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share it with your friends. Let them know so that they can go ahead and get plugged in. And he said, leave your wallets at home. Don't even bring your wallet to the webinar. He does not have anything to sell, so make sure you pack the house out. Let people know that everyone has a gift inside of them that they can monetize. And you're going to learn how to do that on next Sunday. So this is June Collier with Mr. Larry, the champion builder. And we are thankful that you are here tonight. God bless. Take care. And we'll see you next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.